U.S. Election 2024. Potential tax impact of a second Trump administration. A well-known taxation expert and lawyer has speculated that if Donald Trump were to run for office again, he would likely implement additional tax cuts aimed squarely at the rich, much like his Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. Ed Oswald, who wrote From Ronald to Donald, How the Myth of Reagan Became the Cult of Trump with Alan Axelrod, made the assertion, considering the Republican frontrunner's stance on tax cuts and relatively high expenditure. Oswald stated in an interview with Newsweek that a second Trump term is highly unlikely to result in a reduction of America's national debt, which is now at $34 trillion. We have to start paying our bills and gravity is going to catch up with us, Oswald remarked. Trump has the Republican nominee for president in 2024 practically clinched after a series of primary victories on Super Tuesday caused former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley to withdraw from the race. The highest income tax rate is currently $609,350 for individuals and $731,200 for married couples filing jointly. If Trump is elected in November, he will face pressure from Republican contributors to lower this rate, according to Oswald. It seems like the personal income tax side is where the main pressure is, he stated. At this time, the top marginal rate is 37%. Reducing that could be under pressure. The tax expert further projected that Trump would prolong the income tax cuts contained in his historic 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. These cuts were supposed to expire in December 2025, but they dropped rates across the board, including the top one. Nearly half of the benefits of the act went to persons earning more than $232,000 per year, according to an analysis of the tax cuts by the progressive-leaning Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. Trump had the Tax Act in 2017, Oswald noted, adding that the outcome of the House and Senate elections in November will determine Trump's ability to act. If Trump wins the presidency, I would not be surprised to see additional so-called supply-side tax cuts. If Republicans retake the House and Senate after Trump's re-election, I predict more tax cuts. Additionally, given several of the tax cuts enacted in 2017 are about to expire, I anticipate their renewal. Oswald warned that Trump's venom for Obama could lead him to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which would increase national debt, but that Trump is unlikely to cut spending overall. As Oswald pointed out, the U.S. national debt has increased from $1 trillion when Reagan took office to $34 trillion at present. Despite what the GOP claims, tax cuts do not generate enough revenue to cover them. Eventually, we will have to address the national debt, which has surpassed the GDP of the U.S. It would seem that we will have no choice but to start paying our debts and cease putting the future on mortgage when gravity finally catches up with us. The capital of the United States is a haven for hypocrisy. Whenever a Democrat occupies the presidency, the Republican Party takes a stand against the national debt, deficit, and so-called irresponsible expenditure. However, Republicans have been known to support massive government spending by Bush, Reagan, and Trump. When Republicans are in charge of spending money, the national debt doesn't appear to be a priority, but that changes when Democrats take office. According to Oswald, Trump's unique support for certain social services is surprising coming from a Republican. This might be because Trump's base of support is more blue-collar than the typical GOP supporter. He claimed that the reason Trump and other Republicans have refrained from discussing privatizing Medicare or Social Security is due to the widespread support for large government programs. Maybe they simply do not wish to cover the expense. From what I've gathered, it seems like a lot of Trump fans are fond of Medicare and Social Security, and Trump is well aware of it. Even while Trump is unpopular with Republican elites, including fundraisers, Oswald implied that tax cuts will help him win them over. To be honest, it's a little bit of a human conundrum and a paradox, he remarked. Although many in the Republican Party dislike Trump, it's human nature to take pleasure in tax cuts. Frankly, it's a test of character, as the saying goes, who's going to say no to Santa Claus? A Trump spokesman linked Newsweek to the Agenda 47 page of the Republican nominee's campaign website when asked for comment. At the end of his first term, Trump had approved record-setting tax relief for the middle class. According to this, allegations that Trump attempted to overturn the 2020 presidential election result nationally and in Georgia, mishandled classified documents, and orchestrated the payment of hush money to an adult film star are the basis for 4 criminal cases that could complicate his presidential campaign. President Trump has maintained his innocence and denied wrongdoing in all charges against him.